Let's bring in Avry Lewis-Mcdougall of Yahoo Sports. Avry, you were down there at the game last night. Wasn't very good. Obviously, the Oilers, I think, completely outplayed. Jay Woodcroft saying, not our finest hour. I think that basically summed up that Oilers performance. But you were in and around the team. What was the vibe like after the game?
I would say post-game, it was very down. This is a team that knows they had to be better. And game 2 in Vegas had a strong performance. And one thing you didn't want to see was them coming back and not building up momentum after the game 2 win. So in the locker room, the vibes from guys like Connor McDavid, Darnell Nurse, it was really a group sentiment of you have to be better because Vegas is a very strong team. You can't take any days off. So really, but their mindset is more, you know what? We know what we got to do. Get back in the room during practice, watch some tape, and correct what went wrong in game 3.
Avry, so Skinner's chased for the second time in this playoff so far. In comes Jack Campbell. Moving on to the next game, what do you think Jay Woodcroft should do? Should he still ride with Skinner, or is it time for Jack Campbell?
Honestly, I really feel this team will stick with Stuart Skinner. Jay Woodcroft has said multiple times, Skinner brought us here. We want to stand by our rookie goaltender, and I believe they should. You don't want to, at a moment's notice, you don't want to say, okay, that's enough for Stuart, now in for Jack Campbell. Yes, when called upon in relief, Jack Campbell has stepped up well, but I want to see this team continue to have faith in Stuart Skinner, who has shown he can have great bounce-back games when called upon later on.
Avry, when the Oilers don't get the power play opportunities that they normally get, they only had 2 opportunities last night, they struggle. Do you think this team can win by playing straight up 5-on-5 against a Vegas Golden Knights team that proved last night, you stake us out with 5-on-5, we can't take advantage of you?
I do believe they can because, yes, the power play is running at over 50%. It's the highest power play in postseason history right now as it stands. But this team at 5-on-5 has shown they've been able to get goals, and not just from Draisaitl and McDavid, but they've been able to get goals at 5-on-5 from depth guys like Derek Ryan, like Klim Kostin, like Nick Bjugstad. So the power play is, of course, the big story around this franchise. They are able to hang at 5-on-5 no matter who their team is in a postseason series.
Zach Hyman, obviously a big part of this team, beyond the superstars, so to speak. Hurt his leg in the game last night. How big a loss would that be if he misses some action?
That would be a massive missing guy, James. Woodcroft didn't see, there was no updates in terms of what happened to him. We're still waiting to hear news on Zach Hyman, but that would be a massive loss. He's been a guy who had a career high in many categories of points and goals this year. He's been one of the key cogs in Edmonton's top 6, being able to help out Draisaitl and McDavid. So if he misses any time in this series, that'd be a tremendous blow for this team's forward core guys.
We're speaking to Avry Lewis-Mcdougall of Yahoo Sports. Avry, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I think Woodcroft and Oilers fans were expecting a lot more from this guy. No goals in the playoffs so far. What's going on with him?
Yeah, it is a really weird thing with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, how, of course, this year he had his breakout year, 104 points. First year he topped 100 points after being in the league for 12 seasons. It's a really concerning thing to see Nuge now still be at 0 goals. He's mentioned himself, he wants to improve on that. He's got to shoot the puck a little bit more, but he just hasn't been able to get the breaks going his way. There's been chances for him, but for whatever reason, he just hasn't had the bounces go his way. And it's unfortunate because he is the guy that this team needs to step up. He's one of the guys that has to contribute, has to step up, because you're running out of time, even though you're only down 2-1. Tomorrow night, when Edmonton plays Vegas again, they're going to need all hands on deck to tie this series up at 2 games apiece, and that includes Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, guys.
Avry, from a guy who's not scoring to a guy who's scoring at will, Leon Draisaitl, 13 goals already in the playoffs, closing in on the all-time record. When you watch him play, just what makes him so dominant and so special? You're so tied into the Oilers. What you see on a daily basis from Leon Draisaitl that makes him so dominant and great?
One thing about Leon Draisaitl is that he is able to get to his spaces so easily. Like, he's a guy, like, on say, for example, power play. It's so tough for a team to stop both Draisaitl and McDavid, and he's very elusive. He's a bigger guy. He's a 6'2", 210. I would say he's like a modern-day Peter Forsberg. It's tough for him in open space to stop him when he wants to go to the net. It's tough to stop him when he wants to get to the top of the circle to get off that one-timer. And he's the kind of guy, you watch him practice, and he practices as much until he can master a skill, be it getting to net, be it as one-timer. And that shot, his release is so quick that no matter if a goalie gets to that part of net in time, it's still not fast enough. And what's the old saying? He has a dog in him. He is the dog. Like, that's how Leon Draisaitl plays.
I love watching him play. He's so electric.
I love that the modern day Peter Forsberg.
Yeah.
Because I mean, talk about power forward. What a player he was. Another power forward, Evander Kane, a player who signed amidst pretty controversial circumstances, right? But it seems to me he's worked out really well for the Oilers, having a very solid playoff as well.
Evander Kane, he's the kind of guy in which you watch him play, and he's a great shot. He is someone who can get opposing teams off their game. He's been another key cog. I mean, when he brought him in last year, Edmonton was struggling for a power forward, a guy who was able to produce. And that's one thing Evander Kane has been able to do well when called upon. I mean, he has had his issues, of course, defensively. He isn't the greatest forward, and there are times in which he does get goaded into taking dumb penalties. Those have to be cut out of his game. But when he's focused, when he's not getting involved in the silly stuff, he's one of the better forwards on this roster for this team easily.
Is there a concern that if Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid don't score or don't perform in certain games, that the Oilers basically have no chance in winning? Because if you saw that game last night, I tweeted out a lot, and I was kind of joking, but at the same time I wasn't. I kept saying, where is Connor McDavid? I didn't really hear his name, didn't really see him all that much. At least Draisaitl, you saw he had a couple shot attempts, hit the post, and so he was involved in the game. Is the secondary scoring for Edmonton an issue?
If it was 2021, 2022, I would say yes, because last year that was a team that was carried by only McDavid and Draisaitl. That was a team in which, I mean, you had Zach Hyman there as well, but the main story was those guys were carrying the team. Now it's a much more well-rounded team in which you're not as worried if those two guys are held poorly, so they don't have an impact. Because like I mentioned off the top, you do have the Derek Ryans, Nick Bukestads, Hyman, Kane, Klim Kostin, and defensively, they've seen scoring from the back end. Guys like Evan Bouchard have stepped up. So no, I think if you ask most fans, they're not very worried if they don't score because the team is so much more well-rounded compared to last year's squad, guys.
Even when you look at Darnell Nurse, I know he gets a lot of negative publicity, especially from Edmonton because of his cap hit and just his play. Can he really be that number one defenseman that the Edmonton Oilers need him to be? Or have you seen a shift to Matthias Ekholm, who has, since he's been in Edmonton from Nashville, he's really bolstered that defense core?
I like Darnell. I've liked him since he came in the league. I do think that the 9.25 may have been a bit much for him, but if I'm him, would I have said no to that money? Of course not. No way. I'm not going to turn that money down. That was more on the Magic giving him that kind of money. But I think Matthias Ekholm is a guy who they brought in from Nashville. He is able to eat up some of the minutes that Darnell used to play. But I think one thing about Darnell, he's going back to, I think, doing a little bit too much. And it's clear that the pairing of him and Cody Ceci isn't working. So I think if there's a way for Jay Woodcroft to break up that pairing of Nurse and Ceci, I think you will see Darnell play a little bit better, because when I've seen Darnell excel, he loves to jump up in the rush. He has a great shot for a D-man. So I think the big thing is separate him and Cody Ceci. I think you will see an improvement in Darnell Nurse's play this postseason, guys.
Yeah, CC went -3, Nurse -2. But the thing with Nurse, he tries to set the tone, as we saw at the end of the game there. Okay, so how do you see this series playing out? I mean, we have Edmonton at the moment at +460 to win the Stanley Cup. I think the path is there for them, but the question is, can they figure out to get past Vegas first?
No, totally. And one of the big things that we saw in game 3, and it was a big thing in game 1, is holding on to leads. Edmonton was able to score first in both games, and immediately afterwards, Vegas responds with an answer, and Vegas opens things up. For Edmonton, it's really about handling the Vegas forecheck, which at times can be very aggressive, and building upon leads, making games 1-0, 2-0. We saw in game 2, we saw the onslaught in Vegas, which that offense was rolling. You can't sit back against Vegas. It isn't the LA Kings. Vegas is a much more offensively minded team. They will push. They've got weapons like John Marshall Show, Jack Eichel, Mark Stone. It's a dangerous team that when they want to get rolling, they can score goals in bunches. So for Edmonton in game 4, they can't sit back, and they have to find a way to counteract the Vegas forecheck tomorrow night.
Yeah, now they got Aiden Hill, who comes in for Laurent Brossoit, who looked pretty good, dropping elbows last night in the crease, which who doesn't love to see a little bit of that? Avry, thanks so much for doing this. Let's talk soon.
No, of course, guys. It was a blast coming on again.